Today, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I helped Dimitri, a burnt out 9-to-5 employee, barely making $3,000 a month after taxes, transition to the world of online virtual sales, where he was making $17,000 a month by his third month in sales. And the best part is, he did it with zero risk, no product, no ad spend, no upfront capital, just execution, skill, and a system that works. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rome, and I've done over 10 million in the high-ticket sales space, sold over 16 offers for one of the biggest name coaches in this industry. And more importantly, over the last 3 years, my team and I have been very successful at training and managing over 200 sales reps. And if you guys stick around and watch this video through and through, you will quickly realize that what most of these gurus preach is a total lie. And I will give you guys the truth, the real step-by-step system that has worked for me and hundreds of other closers that we've trained to go on and see great results and develop real skill, which is the backbone of their success. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Now, this is how we placed a burnt out sales rep on an 8-figure offer, so an offer doing 8 figures a year, and got him to $17,000 a month of starting in under 90 days, okay? And this was without cold calling, all right, without stuck in a physical location, working more than 4 hours a day, maybe 5 hours a day, okay? So this is a screenshot of Dimitri's back end of his invoicing dashboard for the first 4 months, actually. And so you guys know, so you guys can see it actually continued. It wasn't like a one-hit wonder. He actually maintained that and even more the next year or two after that. And this screenshot over here is from this month, March. I'm recording this video on March 22nd, and these 5 sales are in March. If you guys tally this up, that's about 90,000. So that's about 9 to 12K in commissions. And we're not even done March, okay? Now, guys, if you're somebody who's serious about getting similar results like Dimitri, then please put away your phone, put it on D&D, guys, all right? Take together right now, put it on D&D and pay close attention, because if you can't even dedicate less than an hour, probably 30, 40 minutes to learn how to change your life in 90 days, then this success thing isn't probably for you, okay? Now, before we dive in, I want to be clear as to who this training is for, okay? If you've been looking into remote sales for a while and you want to start, you want to find an opportunity and get going, this is for you. And if you're an experienced sales rep or closer struggling to find a quality offer and where you don't have to actually hunt for your leads and cold call people and talk to people who don't want to talk to you, this is for you. And if you feel trapped in your current job or your vehicle, doesn't even have to be sales, and you know you could be making a lot more money if you just had the right opportunity, then this is for you. And, you know, I think most of us here want to make at least $10,000 a month, if not more, where our earnings are directly tied to the efforts and skill that we put in. Okay. Before we get started, you guys have to understand this. Okay. It's very important to understand this. Making $10,000 to $20,000 a month within your first year in this space specifically, or in sales as a whole, is 100% possible without cold calling, without hunting for your own leads. But the single biggest determining factor of how much you can make is not how good you are in sales. It's not how long you've been in sales. It's not how smooth or charismatic, you know, like people have gift of the gab. That doesn't sell. Because if you put this guy over here in a Honda Civic in his next race in Formula One, I will bet you my life savings he won't beat the lowest ranking driver in Formula One. Now, with that being said, I have some good news and bad news. All right. The good news is that there are thousands of businesses who are desperately looking for closers, and you've never even heard about them. Now, the bad news is that 99% of these businesses, the good ones, not the brokey offers that you find on Facebook, aren't advertised on LinkedIn or Indeed for you to apply to them by just submitting your resume. Why? Well, because these companies, keep in mind, these companies you're going to close for are in the growth phase of their journey. And people and companies in their growth phase rely on salespeople to grow their businesses. And they're not willing to risk half-ass salespeople, right? And risk the reputation and risk burning their marketing dollars Instead, they use resources and agencies to staff vetted closers who have a significantly higher chance of producing the desired rates, which is usually about 25 to 30% close rate. That's a sweet spot. All right, you're probably asking yourself, how do I even get a role? How in the world do I get a role with these businesses doing 7 and 8 figures in revenue when I barely have a track record? Well, like I mentioned, there are thousands of these businesses who are in desperate need of closers to close their warm leads, right? But they're picky. Now, if you want to be one of these closers, in this breakdown, guys, I will go over exactly how to navigate around the concerns I just mentioned, how you can start doing this even if you are working a full-time job. Yes, most of my guys that I've trained and placed have had a full-time job, did this part-time, matched their income, and then told their boss to kick rocks. Number 3, how we managed to help Dimitri land an offer and got him to $17,000 a month in commission in 90 days. Because there was no luck behind this. It was all strategy, which I will share. And number 4, how do you do this with no cold calls? You're not talking to anybody who doesn't want to talk to you. All inbound leads without having years of sales experience under your belt. But first, why should you even listen to me? And it's a very valid question. And now I want you guys to hear me out for a minute or two, okay? At 18 years old, I moved back to Canada from Kuwait, barely speaking English. And up until that point, I'd been bullied all my life, even by my friends. So as you can imagine, I was a very shy kid, very quiet, always kept my head down and just tried to make it through each day. Now, when I had to redo grade 12 in Canada, I thought, here we go again. Same story, new school, new bullies. But on my first day at school, something amazing happened. I walked into class, it was a math class. Everyone was staring at me. And this kid raises his hand, and he's like, yo, come sit here. So, and his name was Kareem. So I'm like, okay, I sit next to him. And he was, later I found out, one of the most popular kids in high school. Everybody liked him. He was charismatic, super outgoing, very confident, the type of guy everybody looked up to and wanted to be like. And I never understood why he wanted to be friends with me. But from that day on, we were inseparable. Well, probably because we were the only 2 Arabs in school. Now, we failed chemistry together. So we took summer school together. And I still remember cramming for a final exam at 2 a.m. in his basement. Now, the thing is, that night, him and his mom had to go out for a run to run a quick errand for his dad. And so I went to school, obviously, because we had the exam, and I was waiting for him. I was like in my chair. I was calling him, and it was ringing. And I'm like, bro, Kareem, where you at? Exam's starting. He never showed up. Then the principal walks in class and just calls me to come down with her. And I knew something wasn't right. Why did she call me? Because the whole school knew we were best friends. She told me, she was crying, and she's like, Kareem has been in a bad accident. He's in a coma. And I'm like, we don't know what hospital he's at. Can you help us find him? So obviously I go call up a friend. We search up every single hospital in the city. Anyways, we find him. And for 3 days, I would talk to him. He was in a coma. I would talk to him every day. I would hold his hand. I'm like, bro, please make it out. We got to start university together. We have big plans. We have big dreams. We need to do this together. And I need you. He never woke up. And the 3rd day I went to visit, his dad was outside the room. He grabbed me by my shoulder, and he's like, Kareem's gone. At that moment, I made a promise that I would live for the both of us. I'll complete university for the both of us. So I went down that safe path. I graduated with an engineering degree from Carleton University. I landed my first job at IBM as a network engineer. And from the outside, it seemed like I had everything on paper. The money, the status, respectable job. But inside, it sucked ass. I made the same amount of money, no matter how hard I worked. And every day it felt like the same fucking thing. I took some vacations, but only when my boss let me. And this is actually the first vacation I took with my mom and my dad. I actually got them from Kuwait to come visit me. This is Niagara Falls. It was a good time, but I got stuck with a heavy credit card bill. And I was just thinking, like, how the fuck do people and families go on vacation often? And this is when it hit me. I sold myself on the dream that my parents had for me, but the reality was it was literally a nightmare. And I was nowhere near the future I wanted to be. I realized that it would literally take me years, maybe even decades, to save money and buy the house that I always wanted. And I want 5 kids. That's a lot of kids, and also that's a lot of money. And I wanted to live freely. I wanted to live all around the world. And I'm like, this is impossible. I looked around at my coworkers at IBM who've been there for over 15, 20 years, and a lot of them were still struggling, driving a Camry to work. And I'm like, this is not going to be me, right? So I quit. And I tried every single side hustle in the book. Every single side hustle in the book. Drop shipping, Amazon FBA, trading, stocks, MLMs, everything. And I failed at all of them. And I realized, without going too long into this, that if I wanted to be a successful businessman, then I had to be successful salesman. Because like 99% of millionaires and billionaires, it starts with sales. But here's the problem. I was terrified of talking to people. When I lost my friend, I felt like I also lost my confidence. So it was very difficult. Every time I tried to have a conversation with somebody, I would choke, right? I would freeze. I feel like my throat would tighten. But I made a promise that I would push through. Our favorite song was Stay Schemin' by Rick Ross. So we'd always sing it whenever we are going through hard times together. So I'm like, it would just play in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm not going to let it stop me. So I did something that I never did in my life, right? Because if I wanted different outcomes in my life, if I did the same thing every day and expected a different outcome, that is a definition of insanity. So I knew I had to do something different. So I got myself a mentor, right? I literally paid somebody $500 to coach me for a couple of months. That mentor introduced me to my next mentor, Dylan Blues, who basically changed everything for me. Dylan connected me with Ty Lopez. It was a crazy, crazy time in my life. 4 months after just training remote closing, Dylan calls me. He's like, I have an opportunity for you to close for Ty Lopez. I'm like, what do you mean, Ty Lopez, the knowledge guy, the here in my garage guy, the OG? He's like, yes. He's like, do you know the 10-step framework? I'm like, yeah, 100%. I'm ready. 10 steps framework is something I'm going to share with you guys in this video. He's like, do you know this, this, and that? I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, good. You're starting tomorrow. This was my first offer. Up until then, for 3-4 months, I was just training, role playing. So literally on my first day, first lead I spoke to, I managed to close him for $1,000. It was a lady, actually. It was like a 7-minute call. It was real quick. And on the same day, I closed like 4 or 5 more deals. I made like $500 that first day. Within 3 months, guys, within 3 months, I made about $43,000 in total. This was my commission check in my second month. It was $16,000. This was my day, guys. It was back-to-back, 24 calls a day. And this was a screenshot of my invoicing dashboard at that time. I made bank. Now, for the next 3 years, we obviously scaled his high-ticket sales team to over $2 million a month. And after taking this opportunity to the moon, I stepped into leadership role after leadership role. I started training high-level remote sales. We started launching masterminds. It was crazy. People were literally coming from all over the world to come and get trained. And that's when I joined my mentor, Dylan, as his business partner to help him grow his sales agency, where we train and place sales reps in opportunities similar to the one like I had. This is me and Dylan. Guys, I am not that small. He's just a giant, all right? Now, at this point, our reputation for scaling sales teams and developing top-tier sales talent was unquestionable, right? You ask anybody in the game, they know who we are. We quickly became the go-to agency for any coach or offer that needed high-performing sales reps. And literally a few short years after that realization that I needed to grow a pair and get over my fears and finally get into sales, this is what happened to me. True freedom. I started living. I could finally buy myself a nice car. I can travel and work from anywhere around the world and anytime. I could do whatever I want with whomever I want, whenever I want. That is true freedom, guys. Now, fast forward to summer 2022. We had reached a point where we had more coaches asking for closers than we had closers to place on offers with coaches, right? So there was a shortage of closers. Now, the terms high ticket closer, remote closer were like popping up all over the place with hopeful people running ads. Basically, nobody's running ads, making big income claims that they can make you 10 to 30,000 a month. And none of these guys, none of these goofs had any track record of training and placing closers. Now, those income claims were possible, but at the end of the day, the only way to make serious income as a closer is to sell for an established offer. Now, what is an established offer? Basically, well, we're going to cover it in a second, okay? In any typical sales role, 99% of the leads that you speak with will want nothing to do with you. Just having a conversation with them is difficult. And the reason why this space, like the high ticket info product space, is so lucrative is because you spend 100% of your time talking to warm leads, to qualified leads who actually want to get into your program, want to buy what you have. Right? The leads go through a qualification process before they even speak with you in the first place. Now, for some of you guys might already know this, but any coach or business that you will sell for in this industry will already have a massive brand with hundreds of thousands of loyal followers, if not millions. And any lead that you speak with have already spent at least between $20 to $500 up front. All right. So there's some commitment from them. And after that, they will ask to hear more about your high ticket offer when they book a call with you. So the key to closing $5,000, $10,000, and $25,000 deals consistently and making 10 to 20% from that is not being the hunted, it's being the hunter. Okay. And these deals will, by the way, almost always be a one-call close. However, great placement opportunities are few and far between due to the fact that the market is filled with untrained closers spamming them with cold DMs to these coaches. Guys, listen up for a second. I want you to imagine this. Picture this. Imagine you were a coach, okay, who's skilled in a particular niche. Real estate, e-com, trading, doesn't matter. And you started to teach people how to achieve the results that you've seen, all right? Imagine you've spent years building your personal brand, you've paid employees, you've built systems, you spent thousands of dollars a day on ads. You will have very high expectations from your closers. This is why we have so many coaches and businesses reaching out to us. Because rather than taking a gamble on a stranger from a fucking Facebook group or Instagram DM, excuse my French, 10 out of 10 times, these coaches will come to an agency like ours that has an actual tenured track record for delivering high performance closers. So one of the most important things that I learned selling in these opportunities and also seeing people around me selling in these types of opportunities and businesses is that there's two things that are more important than anything else in this space. And number one, you guessed it, it is the quality of the offer and the business that you're selling for. And second, I realized that the old school way of selling was dead, right? Reading off a script with high pressure sales tactics no longer worked, nor is it even ethical. Like if you get a sales guy that, like, I'm talking to you, viewer, if you get a sales guy that tells you, yeah, if you don't pay right now, the price is going to go up after the call, what are you going to say? Exactly. Go kick rocks. So instead, we focused on using a psychology-based framework, one that is easy to remember and one is very easy to use. And I'm going to share with you guys this framework in a second. But most importantly, this framework empowered people to take action themselves instead of pressuring them. Right? This framework basically turns sales calls conversational instead of like a tug of war, right? It's a dance, not a rape, and allowing you to close more predictably and consistently without the prospect feeling like they're actually being sold to, because nobody likes to be sold to. Nobody likes salespeople, right? And so after a couple of years of putting these theories to test, the results were pretty incredible. Nearly every single closer we trained and placed was able to actually enjoy selling, which is very important, while making a rewarding income within 2 to 3 months by following our methods, by following our exact process, which I'll share with you in this video. And after seeing how powerful this process was for myself and other closers on my team, we decided to implement this into our actual training within our sales agency, which sells for the biggest coaches in the world. And by the way, that training is in the link in the description below and is absolutely free. The reason why it's free is because I want you guys to get value and I want you guys to make money and understand that we know what we're talking about. So you guys come back and want to work with us on an even higher intimacy level. All right. So that's why we're doing it, to be transparent. And the results we saw were both internally and within our sales training company were pretty insane. Now, this took me a while to put together, but I'm just going to scroll through it. And if you want to pause and read, you can. Now, all right, guys, I'm going to show you the transformation right now. All right. So let's dive in. In late October 2022, Dimitri came to us. He got in touch with us and explained his current situation. He was being burnt out at his current sales position he was working at. And he's been looking for a good sales role for months and needed help. So we decided to work together. Funny story, guys, real quick. Dimitri thought he was applying for a garage company. He had no idea because he thought it was like remote sales, remote closers. He thought it was a garage company for automatic garage openers and closers. And I quickly realized that that was not it. Now, when we worked together, he actually, we decided to work together and he quickly realized that everything he knew about sales was bullshit, was wrong, arguably unethical. And when he switched his mindset to putting his prospects first and selling more in a conversational manner, his life changed pretty drastically. We spent the next few weeks training him and getting him up to a standard for a 8-figure established offer. And within 3 weeks, we placed him on his dream offer. Our millionaire closer framework that we helped Dimitri implement, which I'm going to show you in a second, be patient, it's coming, worked so well that within his 4 months of being placed, he closed over almost $500,000 in sales. All right, he made almost $50K in commissions. Dimitri now makes multi-six figures. He travels with our team, speaks at our training events, and frankly, makes more than most 30-year-olds that can fathom. This is his handsome stud over here. I tried to find a picture where he looks ugly for a before and after, but this guy just always looks handsome. God bless. MashaAllah. Guys, by the way, if anytime you want to book a call with me and see how we can help you like we did with Dimitri and others at a higher intimacy level, there's a link in the description below, okay? So you can eliminate all the guesswork and you don't have to figure it out all yourself. We can help you do that. Now, we decided to break it down all for you. In the following steps, we'll outline the entire process from A to Z of what we did to accomplish these results. All right, I'm pulling back the curtain, guys. All right, we want to put this out there so you can use our playbook to start a career as a remote closer and make multiple six figures a year, all right? Minimum 10K a month, guys, in the next 90 days. It is very, very doable. Now, here are the specific stages that we took Dimitri through in order for him to get him there. Guys, if you follow these exact steps, it is literally impossible not to have a wildly successful career in 2025 and beyond, all right? Number one, training, okay? You need skill. To make a lot of money, you need to be good. You need to be able to perform. I'll show you guys exactly how you're going to do that with the framework I'm going to give you guys and how to actually role play all this so you can get your reps in. Number two, landing an offer, and it's going to do a lot with your network. You need to be in a network, whether it's paid or free. All right, that's the only way that you're going to be able to get up to a head honcho and be able to close for a good offer. Number three, continued growth. So, guys, anybody can close a laydown. So, a lot of these calls that you're going to be getting onto, people are going to have their credit card ready to go. Okay, but to go from making a couple grand a month to 5 figures a month, that requires some skill, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Now, guys, when you begin to zoom out on the journey and understand your priorities in each stage, mastering high-ticket closing turns into a game of repetition, not constantly trying to figure out what is your next move, okay? All right, now let's get into how we optimize each stage of the process for Dimitri so that he could go from breaking out of his 9-to-5 to being on track to making multi-six figures in commissions in his first year. All right, number one, training. So before Dimitri came to us, he was butting heads against the wall trying to close low-ticket memberships at a gym that he was at for 4 years. He didn't believe what he was selling. He had no way of increasing his income. He just had to wait for the people to come in the gym door. And he knew he was good. Like he knew he had some sort of potential, but he wasn't in the right vehicle to fully utilize that potential. Plus, he was forced to use unethical sales tactics to try to get these people in with regardless of their health goals, right? So now Dimitri was never lazy or unintelligent. He was just simply trapped without his knowledge, trying to increase his income through a low quality opportunity using a low quality toolbox, which is most people. And the real problem was that no one in his surroundings, in his network, was able to tell him that he was wasting his time and his effort. In fact, he spent 4 years at the gym until he realized that he was stuck and that there was probably opportunity elsewhere. There was probably greater opportunity elsewhere. In fact, he spent a whole 4 years at the gym until he finally realized that he was stuck and there was a lot of opportunity for greater potential. And then that's when he decided to seek out a different opportunity. All right, ladies and gents, the Millionaire Closer Framework, as promised, here it is. This exact sales structure we taught Dimitri, the same sales structure we use and are training our internal team on, and the same one that I used. Some of you might be asking or wondering, why don't you just use a script? Wouldn't that be easier? Yes, if you're talking to a wall. When I first started selling, I was using a script, and it made my calls feel really inauthentic. People didn't like me, and that's why most people don't like salespeople, because they're script reading monkeys. They end up, and I was that person. I was reading a script. My calls were never authentic. I was never listening to the actual prospect because I was just so focused on what I need to say next, and I was never present. I could never actually help somebody. Right. So when I started to understand the sales process more, I learned about using frameworks. And there's many out there. And this is the one that worked for me. This is the one that worked for hundreds of people that we've trained and managed and placed. Right. So the whole idea here is that you're taking people through different stages. You're taking these prospects through different stages of a call and taking just the right piece of information that you need so that you can move on. Right. So this way, the conversation feels a lot more natural, feels fluid, more authentic. That's how you actually build trust. Okay. Now, this specific framework allowed Dimitri obviously to make a shit ton of money the first couple of months. Here's the proof. Now, guys, this is the summarized version that I'm going to walk you through right now. If you want the full detailed one, the one right here with all the questions and nuances, you can find it in my sales training course below in the description. It is completely free, guys. All right. Plus, there are recorded sales calls. So you can actually see this whole framework put into action on real sales calls. Step number 1 is the intro. Keep in mind, guys, these are all inbound call. Okay. So inbound calls, they're expecting your call. You're not calling them out of the blue. And the goal is to make a good first impression with high energy, high enthusiasm, and confidence, right? You want to break the ice. You want to drop the prospect's guard so they're more receptive to future questions. I'll give you an example of how I do it, okay? Hey, Layla? I pique curiosity. Layla? Question mark. You say, yeah. Hey, Layla, this is Rome with XYZ. How you doing today? She's like, oh, I'm good. How are you? I'll be like, just good. Why not great? Right? That probably sounded really fake right now, but I do it a lot better on actual calls. But that way you're different. You don't sound like every single sales guy out there. All right. Step number 2 is the agenda. All right. You're about to ask your prospect a shit ton of questions. So you want to let them know you're about to do that so they expect it. So you want to explain the reason of the call, and you establish authority frame by explaining to the prospect how the call is going to go down. Right. So you'll say something along the lines of this. Hey, Layla, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions to see if and how we're going to help you out. And if I think I'm able to support you, I will show you how. And if not, no worries. I'll still point you in the right direction. Sound good? Right, now we're on the same page. Step number 3 is situational. The gap starts. Now we're trying to figure out where they are in their life, right? We're going to start with broad, open-ended questions and ask questions to have the prospect expand on pain points and challenges that they bring up. In this stage, guys, I want you to keep up with me, all right? In this stage, the goal is to have the prospect speak about what is on top of their mind and for us to listen. This is where you got to fucking put your satellite ears on, listen to every single word that they say and analyze the type of buyer they are, their personality, their tonality, anything else that's relevant, all right? So something that I like to say is, hey, so Layla, talk to me about what's kind of going on in your life right now that made you schedule a call, right? And they'll tell you about their pains and why they're unhappy with their work. and you want them to expand on that. Tell me a little bit more about that. I want you guys to dive deeper into the details to find out about the real situation. All right, number 4, vision. Now at this point we understand where the prospect is. We understand the pains, their situation, and now it's time to understand the other end of the gap, where they want to be. Right. So this is where we want to ask broad vision questions to understand what outcome the prospect wants, and from here, you want to connect that broader vision to a monthly or yearly profit goal to create that emotional connection to that outcome. I'll give you guys an example. All right. So Layla, can you paint me a picture? Like, how do you want your business or life to look like 2 years from now? Right. Hey, Layla, can you paint me a picture? Then pause for a sec. How do you want your business or your life to look like 2 years from now? The reason why we pause is because we want them to think about it internally and really give us a good, deep answer. We don't want a surface level response. And the way that you do that, you use verbal pausing, right? You pause to make your question more powerful. Now, let's just say Layla says, I want more time with family, right? I want more freedom. I want to create passive income. Great, amazing. And hey, Layla, have you ever thought about, now I'm connecting it to a monetary value. Hey, Layla, have you ever thought about how much would you need to be making a month for you able to have X, Y, and Z? And after that, you're done with the vision. We've established that gap. Stage 5 is challenge. So once we understand where our prospect is and where they want to be, now it's time to understand what's been holding them back all this time from making that change in their life from where they are to where they want to be, right? We want to understand, why haven't they taken action already? What's been stopping them from seeing results, right? This stage will often reveal future objections that might come up. And this is your job to identify those objections early and prevent them from happening by giving your prospect a perspective shift. This is a little bit advanced, but I'll give you guys a quick example, okay? So, you get to stage 5, you're like, hey, so Layla, what's kind of been holding you back from, making this change in your life? And she might say something like, well, I haven't had the right support. And this is where you want to dig deep. Most sales guys will be like, oh yeah, I got you. You didn't have the right support. That makes sense. Ha, move on. No, this is where you're going to be like, wait. What do you mean you didn't have the right support? Like, what have you actually tried? And when you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find that they actually didn't try anything. And what you're trying to do here is make them take accountability for their actions. All right, now step 6, consequential. This is how you build crazy urgency in your prospect, by having them understand the consequences of not taking action. This motivates a prospect even more to make a change now. And the way that you do that is say this, hey, Miss Prospect, what happens 2 to 3 years from now if you still don't find the right support and the right guidance? How would your life look like 2 years from now? They'd say, well, look the same. You'd ask them, are you going to be okay with that? They would say no. And here's the sauce. You would say, well, why not? And now they start imagining why they would not be okay with them not making a change in their life. And now they're like ready to go. They're ready to sign up. So sales, like I said earlier, is filling a gap successfully. And the gap is where the prospect is. So stage 3, where they want to be. Stage 4, vision. And why haven't they gotten there? Stage 5, which is challenge. And before we close the gap for the prospect, we want to explain the prospect's gap back to them and clarify and show a high level of understanding of their pains and their goals. The way that we close the gap is by pitching our product and service, by showing them how we're going to actually get them to their goals, right? Here, we're just showing the gap to them. And then stage 8 is gauging commitment. We got to make sure our prospect is ready, able, and willing to do what is necessary to get to their vision. Right? And these questions can be related to time commitment, willingness to get uncomfortable, and decision to make a change. For example, hey, Mr. Prospect, if we can show you a way to get you to your goals, are you really at a point in your life you're ready to make a change? Very important question to implement. Number 9, self-solution selling. So this is, again, a very important step of the framework right before you pitch. We want to ask the prospect exactly what they feel like they would need from us, from the company, in order for them to see their vision, in order for them to feel confident they can get to their goals, right? So the way that you would ask this question is very simple. Hey, Mr. Prospect, what do you feel like you would need in terms of support from Coach Bob for you to see results? And then they're going to tell you exactly what they need. And I want you to write exactly what they're saying. Oh, I need a blueprint. Oh, I need mentoring. I need coaching calls. And you want to take note of these words and you want to use the exact same lingo, the exact same words they use in your pitch. So if they said, I want a blueprint, don't say I'm going to show you an exact step-by-step process. Say I'm going to show you a blueprint. That way they think that they will feel like this program is literally made for them. Presenting and closing. So explain at the end of the call, hey, Mr. Prospect, I feel like, we're a great fit. Would you like to hear more about our program and how it works? And this is where you give a brief 2 to 3 minute breakdown of your program, and you want to tailor it to the information you gained in stage 9, like I just said. Now, usually, guys, in your offer and remote closing, you'll always have a pitch deck of exactly how to close on your offer and what to say, but just make sure you want to tailor it to the information you gained in step 9. Beautiful. Now, guys, like I said earlier, this whole framework is a summarization of the exact wording and nuance of the full one I have in my course, but you get the idea. And you guys, like I said, find the full version in my training along with the recorded live calls that I have using the 10-step framework so you guys can see how this is all actually put together. And so the second he applied the structure, obviously it gave the calls more intention of how they were being run, and his confidence started to go up, and his closing rate started to climb with it as well, until recently where his closing rate is actually above 50% of qualified leads. All right, 1C. Now, even with this sales structure, we're still only halfway there, guys. Just because you know what a sales call looks like, it doesn't mean that you're able to perform when the time comes. This is why most self-proclaimed closers are script reading monkeys, because they think that they can just take a script, walk into a sales call, and just start closing without any practice. And what really happens is that they enter the arena and they get absolutely destroyed by objections and lack of trust from prospects. And they end up burning leads, losing deals and commissions, and getting fired, and even destroying their own confidence. Instead, as a closer, you need to train like a professional athlete, okay? Once you learn the skills, you need to practice them over and over in drills and practice games, like boxing or kickboxing. If you guys, my boxing guys out there, you know how it is. And ideally, you do this until it gets so good that closing deals becomes second nature to you. That's one thing I learned about sales. Sales is hard until it becomes easy. Now, I didn't mention this before, but before coming to us, Dimitri actually put in his 2 weeks before he even started closing with deals. And since his goal was to make 100K in his first year and make sure that he would never, ever go back to his job, we made sure that he was training like a professional from day one. So part of his training is we paired Dimitri up with some of our closers who would act like real prospects and then had them role play for at least an hour every day, if not 3-4 hours a day. This is me actually running a role play session with my guys. Now, he role played every single possible buyer type and objection to make sure that he was confident on day one of his placement. That way, the trial and error was already done with nothing on the line. And the exact same training he went through is in the link in my description and is free. Now, number 2, landing an offer. So again, this is a lot to do with the part of the community and network that you are a part. That's how you make real money in remote closing, if you're serious about this. And in case you've forgotten what I said in the beginning of this video, if there's anything that I want you to take away from this video is that no amount of skill or salesmanship or hard work will help you make the money that you want if you're on a shitty offer. Or in other words, of Warren Buffett, it doesn't matter how hard you row, it matters on which boat you're getting into. It's like if you took the biggest, baddest, fastest, meanest shark in the ocean and placed him on dry land and told him to go hunt for food, he'd still end up starving to death. Unless his name is Rome, then he'd be fine. But here's why it's so important to get on a good offer. Number 1, closing deals is a lot easier because people actually want what you have. Number 2, it's a lot stressful because you'll never run out of warm leads. Number 3, as a result of this, your closer will be higher and higher. You have high lead volume. With a high ticket price, you'll make a lot more money. This is the secret to breaking through to multiple 6 figures a year as a closer. So how did we even get Dimitri on 8-figure offer where he was able to make 6 figures his first year, basically from the moment he started? Well, I'm glad you asked. Before he came to us, Dimitri tried to look for sales roles at other companies, and the only offers that would entertain him were the ones that were obviously desperate to find anyone to fill the role. And that's a clue that there's a reason why these offers don't have closers, because they're shitty. And the only way for somebody like Dimitri, who had a lot of potential, but no track record, to find a lucrative high-ticket offer to sell was to leverage somebody else's reputation, right? It's not, like I said earlier, it's not about who you know, it's who knows you. You need to join a network, again, whether it's free or paid, so you can practice and get noticed by people who are already in the game. Now, when we started work together, our number one priority was to connect him with an offer with the following criteria to make sure he can hit his goal of 10K a month within the next 90 days. High volume of warm qualified leads, great commission structure, 10 to 15% on 5 to 25K packages. And the company must be doing at least 6 to 7 figures a month in high ticket sales. And the last thing is, and this is very, very important, guys, they must have A+ systems and delivery. They must actually fulfill and deliver to their customers. They must actually have a product that works. Otherwise, you're not staying with them for long. I promise you that. This way, Dimitri could just go in and start implementing everything we taught him on the first day and start making money. And equally as important was finding a client that he actually aligned with, so he can actually build a long-term career with them rather than just settling for some shitty info offer that's going to burn out in a couple of months. Now, the reason we're able to find these top tier offers for our closers is very simple. We've done this hundreds of times with some of the biggest high ticket companies in this industry, which means we've already established a reputation for ourselves when it comes to training and placing elite closers. So most of the time, these companies with top quality offers are ones that are reaching out to us to help them find good closers. But here's the catch. Because we have a reputation to live up to when it comes to working with these top level companies, we have to make sure that these sales reps we place can meet the standard. This is also why we're not just a recruiting company where we pick up random people off the street and throw them into any offer that comes our way. Because the moment we start lowering our quality of the people we place, our reputation is at stake. And unlike being a doctor or engineer, there is no special certification you need to get into sales, which means that our clients are solely relying on us to ensure that every single closer we train and place will be able to perform and consistently and predictably close deals for them. Now, obviously, this also applies to Dimitri. Since he was new to high ticket closing, we had to make sure that he was given the proper training and support even after we placed him on the offer so that he could start performing at the highest level possible ASAP. In Dimitri's case, he was placed on an e-commerce offer, which was a coaching program teaching other business owners how to scale their online business to $100,000 a month. And so the lead quality was top notch. The positioning of the offer was a no-brainer. And so Dimitri crushed it right away, earning $6,300 in his first month. Now, keep in mind, at this point, Dimitri has left his job and he already burnt the boats. And his goal was to earn 10K a month between the times of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Here's the math for $10,000 a month, guys. On average, Dimitri would get 10 calls scheduled every day on his calendar. And the program he sold was between $5,000 and $10,000, and he would get 10% commission. And in order for him to reach his goal, he basically only needed to close one deal out of the 10 calls at $5,000 a pop. And so the month after, we worked on his weak points, and we brought that up to $13,500. And his third month, he got to $17,400. He literally quintupled his income after 3 months of starting. Remember, he got $6,300 his first month. This guy ended off with $17,400 in his third month. How? Very simple. Well, month one, he was basically just taking the laydowns. People were just willing to buy. But then how he got to 13,000, 17,000 is that he took those people who were on the fence and turned them into a yes. And here's how, guys. Here's how he was able to go from 6,000 to 13,000 to 17,000 right here. Continued growth is number one. He learned how to handle objections, to think about objection, the wife objection, that it's too risky objection. And number two, mastering the sales pitch. See, 99% of closers, when it comes to the end of the call, when they start pitching their product, they lose their prospect because they're just reading a script that they've read hundreds and hundreds of times and they sound so inauthentic. So you got to learn how to tailor your pitch to exactly what they need, right? Remember, you're closing that unique gap for them, and they have to feel like this solution is the bridge between where they are and where they want to be. And number three, building more urgency. See, a lot of people are like, yeah, I need it, but I want to do it later. I'll just do it next week. I want to do it next month. You have to learn how to make them light a fire up their ass so they make a decision right now. Right. By the way, guys, again, all this training is in my course. Get it? It is absolutely free. And the results of doing this is, well, within weeks, he started to get faster at closes. His closing rate went from 20% to 50% because he knew how to identify buyers. He knew how to handle simple objections. And here's the cool part. Outside of closing, he completely changed the way he communicated. He started to read between the lines when talking to people. He knew how to control conversations. And people who knew him would have a different image of him. Would be like, yo, dude, Dimitri, who are you? Right? He started to get his way with life more. And his new innate ability to be more confident allowed him to be kinder and more generous to people. Because now he has that self-respect to know that what he is worth because of the undeniable stack of proof he has to show that he is who he says he is. And of course, his transformation also translated outside of his closing role, right? Now that he's making six figures, he's been able to move into a nicer neighborhood. He can eat at nice restaurants whenever he wants without thinking twice about the bill. Right? His debts are paid off and he can actually enjoy the freedom he's earned for himself. That's the beauty about this. And this all happened in under a year, guys. And this is a fresh picture from last night, by the way. We went out to a steakhouse. This is the handsome stud. Only he can do the overalls. I can never pull that off. God bless. This is, again, his screenshot of his invoicing dashboard. So you guys see some proof. And most importantly, guys, he can work from anywhere around the world on his own schedule with far more financial security than he's ever had before. And with his new skill and confidence, he's now taken on more responsibility, stepping into a leadership role, training his own sales team, guys, right? This is what's possible. This is a realistic outlook of how your path could look like if you took the same actions. And guys, you can choose whether you want to stay as a closer and bring in 10 to 20 grand a month while you travel the world doing whatever it is that you want to do, or you can step into a leadership role and make even more money, but with more money comes more responsibility. All right, lads. All right, ladies and gentlemen, to recap, Dimitri was fed up with being overworked at his unrewarding job. We exposed him to a brand new industry to him that made him significantly a lot more money, which was uncapped. We leveraged our reputation in this space and got Dimitri to sell a high volume, high ticket offer. And during this time, we trained him on simple modern sales techniques so he can predictably and consistently close high ticket deals. And as a result of that, $6K on his first month, $13K his second month, and $17K in his third month. And this was all possible while having zero experience in the industry and only having sold $30 monthly memberships prior. So if you're in sales, guys, and you feel stuck due to your skill in the vehicle that you're in, or you're already good at talking to people and you want to monetize your communication skills to create a life-changing income and lifestyle, or for my burnt out entrepreneurs out there, you're tired of not seeing results and you want to have your efforts translate into the flexibility and freedom you actually always wanted, then my team and I will help you master this millionaire closer framework and help you sell for a 7 or 8 figure offer and walk you through the exact same steps and the exact same process and support that we gave Dimitri. In fact, guys, I'm so confident if you don't get these results, if you don't make an extra 20 grand in the next 4 months working with us, you don't pay jack shit, okay? So if this sounds like you and you want to crush it in remote sales and get the same level of training, support, and coaching as Dimitri, then go to the link in the description, book a call with myself or my team for a walkthrough of how our system works. And guys, if it's a good fit, I'll walk you through how we can work together. And if it's not, it's all good. I will still point you in the right direction so you at least know what your next steps are. And with that being said, I look forward to speaking with you soon. Stay blessed. Peace.